Good morning, my friends. Today we are doing Grammar 8.4 on restrictive and non-restrictive clauses. That should sound very familiar to you. We've talked about it all year, so this is just a review of that. So remember, restrictive clauses are going to be adjective clauses that are necessary to the meaning of the sentence. That means the sentence doesn't make sense without it. You can't get rid of it and have it make sense. So some examples. I visited the school that my mother attended. Well, we need to know which school it's talking about. So we have to have that restrictive clause there. Second example, gladiators whose name comes from the Latin word for sword were a class of professional fighters. And the special goddesses who assisted the chief god Odin were named the Valkyries. Now, notice none of those are set off by commas because they are restrictive. They have to be there. Now, if you see the arrows that I put there, remember those are the pronouns, the relative pronouns that help us to find those clauses. So keep looking for those to help you find the clauses, whether they are restrictive or non-restrictive. Now, non-restrictive clauses, those are the clauses that are there that are not necessary to the meaning of the sentence. They're just giving you a bit of extra information. They are set off by commas, so these are the easiest ones to find. Again, they're going to start with the relative pronoun, but again, set off by commas, easy to find. So our examples, Quebec, which is located in Canada, sits by the St. Lawrence River. So if I got rid of that, which is located in Canada, the sentence would still make sense. It's still a complete sentence. So Quebec sits by the St. Lawrence River. I don't need to know necessarily that it's located in Canada for the sentence to make sense. And we've got the relative pronoun which there, which makes it easy to find. Second one, the Valkyries who wore armor did not fight in battle. Again, I don't need to know that they wore armor. It just gives me a little bit more information. Set off by commas, started with the relative pronoun who. Third one, the Colosseum, which is a major tourist attraction, was built by the ancient Romans. So we've got which is a major tourist attraction as your adjective clause. It's non-restrictive, which means it's not necessary. It starts with the relative pronoun which. So what you're going to have to do on this assignment, they're going to give you a sentence that has an adjective clause in it. You're going to have to be able to find it and then say if it's restrictive or non-restrictive. We have practiced this all year, so it should not be difficult. But what I want you to remind you to do is look for that relative pronoun to help you find it, especially when they are restrictive. Now, just a few reminders. Again, non-restrictive, not necessary, set off by commas. Restrictive is necessary, and it does not have commas. This is a reminder that I don't know that I've ever said out loud before, but a proper noun is usually followed by a non-restrictive clause. So if the subject of your sentence is a proper noun, generally what happens next is going to be a non-restrictive clause. Okay, so keep that in mind. So my example, Noah's cat Max, who is currently asleep, is very fat. That fact that Max is asleep, not necessary. So I set that off by commas. My next reminder, relative pronoun that is generally used for restrictive clauses, and relative pronoun which is generally used for non-restrictive clauses. We talked about this when we were doing the pronoun chapter, and hopefully you remember that. So my two examples there are the car that was in the accident is leaking gasoline. It's important to know that the car that I'm talking about is the one that was in the accident. It should help figure out which one I'm talking about. And then the second one, my car, which is very dirty, is parked in the driveway. You don't necessarily need to know that my car is very dirty. I'm just telling you where it's parked. So that is a brief rundown on our adjective clauses that we're deciphering this time between restrictive and non-restrictive. So that is basically all you're doing today, finding those clauses, telling if they're restrictive or non-restrictive. Hope that helps. Have a great day. Miss you all. Bye.